Hello, welcome to another episode of The Experience. So, today our focus is on suicide, an issue that has been ignored for a very long time, and today we are here to explain it down for you. So, before we start, we'll have to go to the checklist and tell you more about suicide and the global statistics.
Life scenarios may lead us to make decisions that make us vulnerable, and without support and a shoulder to lean on, many resort to end their life as their only solution to experience an eternal peace. According to the World Health Organization, about 800,000 people die from suicide each and every year. This means that in every 40 seconds, a beautiful soul dies. At the end of this 15 minutes show episode, at least 23 people all over the world will have either attempted or committed suicide successfully. The Global Health Organization goes ahead to rank Kenya at position 114 out of the 175 countries with the highest suicide rate. However, the Kenyan data is controversial since most cases are either underreported or misreported due to reasons such as the penalties in the Kenyan laws against suicide attempts, as well as stigma fears that the suicide attempt victims may have after recovery.
Speaking of, you said immature death. What is affecting the youth that there has been this rise and trend of immature deaths? Now speaking of suicide.
There are very many causes of suicide.
Yeah.
Like the biggest, and let me call it our major problem right now. There are very many issues in love. As people mature, they realize their potential, and that's where they get developing or having those feelings for opposite gender. So now you will find that if things don't work, obvious people will break, what you call an heartbreak, let me call it. And after that happens, people are going into stress, people are going into wild and weird thoughts of committing suicide. So that's our biggest challenges for now. And we also have this other issue of drug abuse. People are going into drugs without having thought about some of these effects. And it may bring up diseases, or it may bring you some, I don't know if you have ever experienced this. There are guys who share what they experience when they have taken drugs. And you may just feel like, walking in the middle of a really moving traffic, you see? Someone is just walking in the middle of a road. Then what do you expect? These are some of the thoughts that come with drug abuse. That is if you don't know how to control after you are high. That's how we call it in Kenya. You are high and you don't know how to deal with it. So there's the issue of drug abuse again. There's the issue of school. There are very many people who have still shared their burdens about school. That's fees, that's their performance. Someone just fails and, it's like, this is the end of my dream. So the result of this is thinking about committing suicide. So to cut the story short, there are very many issues on why people end up thinking of committing suicide. There are the issues of family, violence and everything. There are the issues of maybe my parent can't afford this for me, and I think of the negative part of sorting out my issues, which at the end of the game would be committing suicide. So these are very wide and broad topic, and I think it can take months to discuss some of these issues. So let me just be brief.
Welcome back after the break. So the next question is, which are some of the danger signs that you should be concerned in case one is about to commit suicide? Let's look at the checklist and identify or explain to you some of those danger signs that can lead to suicide.
Let me say, there's one thing that comes with some of these weird thoughts. There's loneliness. You'll just find someone sitting and he's just thinking about himself, or even in his world of thoughts, but you won't really know, and you won't be willing, he or she won't be willing to share what some of the burdens that they are going through. So now, one of the characteristics of anyone who is undergoing some weird thoughts is loneliness, She just wants to be alone, or he just wants to be alone. And the moment he's alone, or she's alone, she's thinking about some very weird things that can't be shared, you see. That's one of the characteristics. If you really find someone who just wants to be isolated and, just wants to be alone, you should think and try to intervene and see what these people are going through. That is one of the characteristics. And the moment we hear anyone talking about suicide, call them and talk to them. But at some of the early stages, and if I may call them the teen stages, ages from 9 years to 15, they are, that's where we are trying to establish, and where we are trying to advise our children on how they should mold themselves to becoming adults. So there are some of the characteristics of, I don't know if it's right to call them childish behavior, that they don't want to participate in the family chores, and now they may have threats as a defense. Like, I won't do this, mom, and I'm going to kill myself. So at some of these early stages, and without anything that might lead to some serious stress, I don't think it's something you should take serious. But at the end of the day, call your child and try to ask, why are you thinking about this? Like, James, why do you think about committing suicide? The moment you hear that term, like, I'm going to do this, it means that it's a thought that may have run at a particular time in life, you see. And now at this moment you feel like, there's a reason to commit suicide. Why? This happened to me, and now mom is trying to do this wrong thing to me. People have different perspectives as well as ways of interpreting things. So the moment you're trying to mold your child to becoming someone productive as an adult, they think that you're trying to misuse them, Like, you're giving them just the normal family roles, like washing your house, doing dishes, but they think you're misusing them, you see. So let me call some of these threats. But the moment you find anyone who now has taken you to another step, like on their WhatsApp. I think the other day I saw a friend of mine in WhatsApp. They are trying to share their burdens, but in a way that they are going to kill themselves, you see. So sometimes take them seriously. Don't assume anything. The moment you hear such statements, try to dig deep and probe further to know what might lead to this.
According to several psychologists, suicide is a process that can be witnessed as early or before it occurs. This is because every person who is about to commit suicide must in one instance or the other show a sign to its neighbors. Some of the signs that people should be careful about include previous suicide attempts, make someone at a risky state of committing suicide in any time possible, family history of suicide, recent job or financial loss, recent loss of relationship, easy access to lethal means, local classes of suicide, history of abuse, hopelessness, suicidal thoughts, makes plans to prepare for death, as well as changing one's mood, can be good signs that one can detect that this is a culprit.
Are there some roles that parents have neglected so as to help their kids to grow up and maybe carry on their love affairs as children in a way that may not lead to maybe suicide?
I think parents have failed because me as a parent, I call my children to a meeting, and I tell them, I know you have grown, and these are some of the things that you should be expecting at this age bracket, you see. Because, at the age of from 15 to 30, or even early 12 and 13, people are developing feelings. So call your child, advise them, tell them what they should be expecting on some of the pre-adolescent or even adolescent changes in their bodies. Advise them that the moment you see something popping out of your chest, this is what it is, But as Kenyan parents, we are trying to be like, we are trying to escape reality, and we are trying to deny the way nature happens, you see. Like, you don't want to tell your children that, at this point, you will be expecting maybe periods, or even if I may call it the normal flow of blood, you see. We are just waiting until it happens, now that we are trying to fight some of the decisions that may come out of some of these changes. So let me say that we should advise our children, tell them at this period, and if you feel like you love someone, maybe these are the things you should prefer, because at the end of the game, let them know that there is heartbreak. Let them know that all things do not just work automatically. So they should expect either a breakup or things working. Those are things we should be taking seriously, and telling them blankly that things may not work, you see. So prepare them psychologically, and if they feel they can't weigh this issue at their age, then they should wait for another time, you see. We are not rushing anywhere. So that's the advice I think we should be giving to our children.
So which are some of the common forms that common forms used by the teens to commit suicide that parents should be aware of?
I think children sometimes are trying to consume poison, or even products that are made of poison. These are some of the things that children, or even some people who are planning to maybe take their breath away, or even their life, these are some of the methods they are using. They may consume poison. At the same time, they may be, it would be hanging themselves, you see. And the moment, it's maybe, let me call them, you see, in rural areas, you will find that people are trying to breed maybe cattle. And the moment you realize that there's a new rope in the house, acquire more, like try to dig deep and know like how it happened, because these are some of the plants that may be in a way of committing suicide. People hang themselves, they consume poison, some may throw themselves from very, very, let me call them, from story buildings, and some of them, I know there are ways that cannot be controlled. Because the moment you have a child walking out of your house, you don't know what their next plan, That's why I'm trying to talk about some of the early stages. There has to be that thinking bracket and trying to weigh things. Like, this thing is not working for me. And that's the time we can really deal with this issue. When the moment you find a lonely child, try to know anything bothering. And as parents, the moment you have your child with needs, try to know how you can settle them. Not like telling them like, the moment I was growing, I did not have this, I did not have this. So you are trying to make them feel inferior in the modern world. So there are very many.
In case you find maybe one is trying to commit suicide, which are some of the roles that you as maybe a neighbor, a parent, which are some of the ways you can act in order to help a soul that is almost leaving?
I think the best way is advice, but maybe undergoing a process of counseling. But now the problem is, you won't know what will be the next move of someone who is trying to kill themselves.
Yeah.
You see, you may plan to counsel them, but the moment you take them into your house, you don't know what's their plan. This is someone who may just use the nearest object to stab themselves, and they are gone. So let me say, take this person to a very empty room with no object, with no anything. Sit with them, try talking things out. Go through that process of discussion. Know what's bothering them, and try to know how to help them. Another way, you can take someone to a counseling agency. That's what we are doing at Stand for Kenyans agency. We try to fit these youth into that bracket and try to build them and try to let them know that in life we expect much to happen. Like, everything won't be positive. Sometimes things will fail, sometimes things will work. So that's what we do. Advice, I think counseling is the best way, because if you don't counsel that person to kick out this mentality of life is not anything more to me, then what do you think the moment you let him go? They'll definitely kill themselves. So I think counseling is the best way. Yeah.
Someone is raising up an issue here. What about caning? They have seen in their areas of residence, he's called Mr. Mamu Masharia from Nyeri. He's saying that in their village, when one is trying to commit suicide, they cane him thoroughly. Is that a good advice?
That's interesting. I think the moment someone is trying to commit suicide, caning him would be adding another burden. You are instilling pain into that person. So, as I said, you better cancel that person. You better call them and sit with them, have a productive, discussion. And at the end of the day, there won't be any suicide, because I don't think caning can work. There's what we used to call traditional Dhara beating. We used to call it TTB. It's traditional Dhara beating. But it doesn't apply in every situation in life. So I think advising these people or even undergoing that process of counseling would be the best. Don't keen.
Thank you for being part of the experience today. See you again next week, same time, same place, where we shall